Okay, right. I made it here. Well, let's see what we've got. Right, why is this place called the Roaring Forest? That's not good music. Oh, and that was what I saw from the map. What the hell? This place looks really weird. What the hell's going on here? It's a big map though. Ooh. Yeah, as monster lore, I expect it's really useful. Where the hell am I? Oh, there I am. Well, might as well speak to these dudes. Hello there. Your gaze falls upon a young woman of 25 to 30 years of age who's standing by the fire in a very strange position. Judging by the absence of conversation with a rugged companion or any other activity, she's just resting by the fire, possibly waiting out the night, but at the same time her body wrapped up in a tailored... That is probably why it's called the Roaring Forest? Seismic activity and holes in the ground. Could it be a massive worm or something? But at the same time her body wrapped up in a tailored winter coat is straight and tense. Her shoulders are spread out and, on the whole, she looks ready to dart off at any second. Not willing to trade? Though it's not fear, at least you don't notice this emotion on her face, badly lit by the fire. A different, much stranger guess comes to your mind. The stranger is standing in the at-attention position, waiting for some order. Apart from this unexpected thing, you also notice a strange, low-pitched buzzing coming from a yellow parcel sticking out of the left pocket of this woman's raincoat. What the fuck? As she notices you, the woman flinches as if she woke up from a stupor. She quickly draws an outdated, reusable metal syringe from within her coat and grabs it by the plunger as if she was holding a dagger. I'm warning you! Another step and I'll have to defend myself. The woman makes a short, sharp nod towards the thick steel needle that's facing you. I'll explain. Should this mixture of sodium peroxide and aluminium shavings get in the bloodstream of any of my adversaries, it will turn them into a living torch, let alone a nobody like yourself. The woman gets silent, evidently hoping that the speech she gave will make you flee. The trees are shaking. Well, if I stand still the whole time during the injection it might work, but let's not test it and just talk instead. The woman skillfully rotates the syringe in her hand so the needle isn't pointing at you anymore, and demonstratively, as a sign of reconciliation, she turns the weapon in the case located under her coat. I agree. In a fight with the living opponents, the substance would probably have a lesser effect than in battle against locks, fences and railings. A talk is much preferable to a fight. I state that not just because I'm not sufficiently equipped. I find confrontations pointless even when the power balance is in my favour. I'd be more than happy if we do make conversation. I have a couple of questions then. I'm listening. Who are you exactly? The woman nods to you and gives a short answer. Anastasia B. Wait a minute. Wasn't B a bandit from a bandit group? That from the Alphabet Gang or whatever it was called? I can't remember whether it was a guy or a girl though. Nice to meet you. They call me... Boom looks at you with indifference. Radovan Smirt, Finno-Urgic Philologist Dagmar the Bookworm. Here you go. The woman nods calmly. Names give a person a little gravitas, Igor. Much less than the people give them credit for. But I'll remember yours, at least for the time of our communication. Speaking of communication... What's your profession? The woman takes her time to think about the answer, after which she shrugs. I doubt the qualifications and titles will be anything more to you than just empty words, and I doubt even more that the place I came from here should be made known to the first stranger I meet. Let me put it simple. I'm a scientist. I began my journey into this anomalous zone 5 months ago, relying on a questionable reconnaissance data as part of a group of only 6 of my closest colleagues and comrades. This information should be enough for you to draw necessary conclusions. And what can you tell me about the strange place? The woman pressed her thumb against her forehead in an unusual, unknown to you gesture. I believe I wouldn't reveal anything new if I told you that this place, the Roaring Forest, is an anomalous zone. After all, anyone who has feet to feel the tremors beneath the earth under them can figure it out. I don't know the reasons for this anomaly, although I do know a multitude of theories. From the completely nonsensical cryptozoological fantasies of the dwellers of the local ersatz states, to the mystical explanations of the local priests who draw a connection between this area and the activity of the forest beyond human comprehension. Forces beyond human comprehension. I reached this place to dispel these theories, one of them in particular, the most ludicrous and most absurd one. When I'm done with it, the reality, I'm afraid, will turn out to be completely uninteresting. Oh, it was rather interesting of a story. And have you heard anything interesting? I have to disappoint you. The woman taps herself on the forehead several times thoughtfully. Although I don't see much of a problem in talking about this place, an exclusive, well hidden from the outside world community of specialists that I come from, many years ago, has fallen victim to what started as an absurd, unsubstantiated theory and continued its existence into a pseudo-religious dogma. Perhaps you're familiar with the concept of quantum immortality, coined by the Western researchers in the pre-war years. The essence of this idea is very simple. The observable universe is just the materialization of one of the multitude of possibilities, a point in infinity that, according to the larger anthropic principle, looks like one of its kind only because its alternatives are not available to our vision. In reality, the number of universes is endless. Each time someone or something faces a choice, a new world is born. Utilizing colourful metaphors, I present the following image. Yesterday, after choosing long and thoroughly between the leg of a mutated ant and the rotten flesh of a stray dog, you've settled upon the latter for your dinner. According to the theory of quantum immortality, with your choice you've created a new universe where everything happens the way it does in ours, but there you chose the ant's leg for dinner. Here's a more dramatic example. Tomorrow you're going to meet a gang of criminals and fall victim in a roadside ditch. Your death, according to this theory, will create a whole multitude of universes in which you'll have either run away from your attackers, killed them all during the confrontation, never met them at all, or even died, but slightly differently. One way or another, you continue to exist for a potentially infinite amount of time in the frames of an infinite number of worlds. Of course, the extent of the theory is much bigger. For each universe where you were born a male, there's one where you were born a female or weren't born at all. For each universe with a nuclear bomb, there's a dozen where such technology wasn't necessary to the developing humankind. There is an infinite number of examples. All that, of course, is nothing more than a thought experiment. However, for one of the prominent scientists of my lesser motherland, this theory has turned into a mania, into a fanatical obsession to discover the bridge between our world and an alternative one, and to give our version of humankind an exodus to the universe where devastating war of 1986 never happened. After a whole range of suicidal expeditions to the surface, the mysterious forest was unfoundedly named the junction point, the sigil of the multiverse. I volunteered for an expedition to this place to prove once and for all that our leader's theories are insane, to oust him for his own sake and for the sake of our community, and nothing will stop me. You sure can talk. I'll go now. Wow, that was a bit of a one-sided conversation. Place is definitely strange though. You see a pensive-looking man of around 40 years old, or maybe 50 already. Tiredly rubbing his forehead with his thumb and index finger, he's looking through you, through his tiny fire, and through the woman standing opposite him. The darkness of the deep night surrounding you, and the uneven, constantly flickering light of the fire prevent you from determining not only the man's approximate age, but even his facial features. I don't know, I can determine them pretty well. Everything about him looks blurry, covered in haze. The only thing you can see clearly is his worn-out trench coat. It's grey except for about a dozen patches sewn on it in haste. It's worn into holes. Apart from that, your gaze is drawn to a whole armoury of radio parts sticking out of the wide, partially torn pockets of the traveller's unsophisticated apparel. You also take notice of a retractable Yagi antenna, the whole bunch of transistors, and even a blowtorch whose serpent-like cable goes deep into the man's suit. As he notices you, the man flinches with a precise, well-practiced move, draws from underneath his coat something that looks like a pile of metal scrap pressed into a cylinder half a metre long. The man's frightened eyes meet yours, and he points the mysterious aggregate right at you. Whoa, 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 traveller. Not a step closer. Do you see? Do you see my thingy? It's a cryogun. That's right. I've assembled it myself, following the blueprints from the Young Engineer magazine. That's where liquid nitrogen shoots from. The man points to the rust-eaten tank of butane attached to the device. And you'll freeze in an instant. You just turn into an icicle. After which a small Hummer will shoot from this barrel. And you'll be blown to smithereens. Do I make myself clear? I'm not being scientific, am I? To smithereens. Not a single doctor will be able to put you back together after that. Once a man, now a Chinese puddle. A Lemacan's box. So there. The man gets silent, evidently hoping that the speech he just gave you will make you flee. I doubt that thing works, but I have no intention to give it a go. Let's talk. The man cautiously lowers his intricate cylinder on the ground, as if in a sign of reconciliation. What is it with these scientist people threatening me and then immediately backing off? The second he lets go of the device, it falls into parts, turning into an extension cord, a metal pipe, and a set of radio parts that the man immediately grabs together with the dirt and begins stuffing into his coat pockets. Well, now, even if you had something apart from talking on your mind, talk would be all I could do. I admit that I assembled the cryogun in haste, pretty much on the run, whilst trying to escape from the enemies of everything that is new and has mathematical and physical formula, from the enemies of science. I hope this conversation doesn't show you that you too are a member of that cohort that grows bigger by the day. How can I help you? I got a couple of questions. First of all, make me a cryogun. How? Who are you, actually? The man grunts and proudly extends his hand. Anastas Baldur, a self-taught physicist at your service. Physicist at your service. And how is my unexpected interlocutor known to the world? Nice. They call me. The man leans forwards, his bushy beard ablaze with sparks coming from the fire. Dude, you should probably lean back. Zeka, Price of Freedom, Korniev. Zerdan comes the Kubas freeze. Nikolai the Mosquito. Vasily Tryhorse. Igor. Without asking permission, the man grabs your hand and starts shaking it energetically. Nice to meet you, Igor. I'm glad to see you in the ranks of our scientific concilium. That consists of you, me, and this amazing place full of riddles. Speaking about riddles, I'd like to ask you something. The man chuckles joyfully and slaps his pockets filled with radio parts, causing indescribable screech and chatter. I'm a convinced atheist. Moreover, I'm more inclined to think that religious cult is harmful for the masses, and that the real reason behind most of the conflicts is in a diachronic prospect, but I'm not ashamed to say. For God's sake, ask me anything you want, my friend, for God's sake. So it must be a different thing in Russian then, because the other guy said ask you questions for God's sake, but he wasn't hostile, and neither is this guy. But in, like, obviously, I don't know how it's in America, but in Britain you say for God's sake to show, like, exasperation or something. It's not really like, hey friend, talk to me for God's sake. It's like, for God's sake, talk to me, you know? And what's your profession? The man proudly straightens up. Want to turn as apprentice? Now a free researcher. So there. A rich collection of popular science magazines that I assembled back in the pre-war years when I was a green youth, and that I've read cover to cover, allow me to comprehend many riddles of the universe, and expelled me from the comfort and warmth of my native land, untouched by the gamma rays and theta waves, in search of the discoveries that would improve the human condition. I act outside anybody's jurisdiction. I work against the rules. Every man and his dog has robbed me by now, but I keep the faith in the progress, even with a total lack of care or help on the part of the science board of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. That was the last bit, was a mouthful. What can you tell me about this place? Your interlocutor throws his hands up in the air. Oh no, my narrator's doing it now. Oh, comrade, this place is commonly referred to as the Roaring Forest. I've heard and right on cue. I've heard all sorts of primitive theories trying to explain why it shakes occasionally. Clandestine underground railway for the surviving members of the Central Committee, a nuclear bomb testing ground in the Earth's crust, a secret factory wearing the forest like a hat, that day and night produces armored vehicles for the cold-hearted mythical organization called Atom that apparently is tirelessly making ammunition to precipitate the destruction of the last survivors on Earth. It's all nonsense. In fact, this place is a physical anomaly that was predicted by the great Conopialto Arcadi in the July issue of the Young Engineer magazine in the year 65. I've read it many times before arriving to the seemingly absurd conclusion. But I digress. Excuse me. And have you heard anything interesting? Oh. The man's almost jumping with joy. Have I heard anything interesting? Do I know anything interesting? Comrade, I'm so exalted I'm barely holding in the mad dance of a primate, a savage who's just discovered fire. You've got such a clever look in your eyes. No, I'm not even going to ask you. I simply state that you have definitely heard about the theory of plural singularities coined by Conopialto Arcadi that was described in the June issue of Young Engineer magazine back in the year 65. Genius, who was later tortured by the punitive psychiatry, made an assumption that surpassed all theories that existed in the world of the big physics, so much that it caused a reaction in the scientific community. They, these embodiments of the trivial, perplexed by his piercing wisdom, didn't even laugh. They didn't point at him with their yellow crooked fingers, they just kept silent. They ignored him. But he was so right. The thing is, my friend, that our Earth is far from being the only one. in the exact same way as an unnoticeable but very important part of any atom, nicknamed in the West with the odious word quantum, or the way I call it, microsegmentoid, is capable of simultaneously existing in an infinite number of places. The same way our planet can have a potentially infinite number of twins existing in the same place and time, but on a different radio waves of reality. Imagine, for the sake of simplicity, an infinite number of Russian dolls stacked inside one another, but at the same time these Russian dolls don't get smaller in a mathematical progression, they're all identical. Each painted doll fits perfectly inside the other, all in the same way, because it's allowed by the difference in radio waves. Each such Russian doll is a separate reality that is identical to ours, but for some small differences. And somewhere there, or rather somewhere here but not here, here but on a different radio wave, there is an Earth where you were born with a different hair colour, with different, excuse the vulgarity, gender. There is an Earth where you were never born because your parents failed to meet due to some fateful trifle. There's even an Earth where this damn war never happened. They all exist in one spot, but are divided with an invisible barrier, the radio wave frequency. And if a person from one version of the Earth can never get to the other version of the Earth and explore it, then how do we prove that the theory is correct? It's very simple, my friend. According to the calculations of the great grey-haired master of science, Canipalto Arcadi, there are weak points in a couple of places on each copy of the Earth. These are the places where the radio waves that separate the parallel worlds get weak due to a number of geological reasons, and that allows those who pay attention to observe the parallel Earths, and even cross the seemingly unbreakable barriers to other worlds. This forest, and the local peasants have nicknamed it Roaring, is one of such points. I made such a long way from my homeland to observe it. Alas, so far I haven't detected the signs of the presence of the objects from parallel worlds, but now that I'm here, a discovery like that's just a matter of time. Wow, I can see you're as passionate about this theory as your companion. The man flinches and shuts his mouth just as he was about to say something. He's clearly scared. Almost a minute passes before he speaks again, showing no sign of his previous joyfulness. Excuse me, but who are you talking about? I'm calling bullshit. There's no way. There's no way. That woman standing by the fire, she's also looking for a border between the worlds. The man stares over your shoulder fearfully. His gaze bounces off the foot-worn piece of land where the woman is standing, but doesn't focus on her once. Wait, he looked blurry, didn't he? When I saw him first, before he came into focus. The woman is deep in her thoughts, just not even looking at the two of you. You know what, my friend? During all of our popular science discussion, I never managed to crack you like that proverbial nut. I failed to comprehend your essence. Did you come here to mock me? Spoke me as though with needles? Fun at me with jokes that only seem funny to you? There's nobody on this glade except you and me. Well, she's standing right there. The man quietly swallows the lump in his throat and looks at you apprehensively as if you're a dangerous lunatic. Alright, whatever you say. Yeah, there she is, that woman. I see her now. Wow, she's cool. The interlocutor coughs embarrassedly and carefully steps away from you. Ah, to hell with you. My friend, don't be angry. I really have no idea what you're talking about. Now tell me, what information do you need from me? Right, well, if I'm the only person who those two can see, if I get her to physically push me or lift me or do something to me, like grab my revolver, what happens then to him? Like, he'd see that, right? And then he'd know that it was true. Can I do something about that, or? Yeah. Listen, your mate pretends not to see you. What's all that about? The woman looks at you disapprovingly. What is this gibberish? Are you seriously assuming I'm willing to waste my time on this nonsense? There's no one here except for you and me. Perhaps this insistence on the lie is some old way to scare me, rooted in the tradition of campfire stories. There he is, a man sitting on the other side of the fire. He's a scientist as well, albeit a rather questionable one. Your interlocutress isn't even looking in the direction you're pointing. I insist we do without the anti-scientific suggestions. You and me are the only people for hundreds of meters around. The woman addresses you in an apologetic voice. Please, don't think it's a mockery, but is everything alright with you? The visions indicate the inadequacy of your consciousness. Tell me what you came here for or leave me alone. Wait, can you guys see Fidel? Fidel, help me here. Okay, discuss your tactics. Oh, did I not save when I... Never mind. Okay, so if I get her to use the fire, or if I could... that's the only shame. I can't get her to, like, manipulate stuff. Like, if she goes over and... Well, they're both around the same fire, right? So what's going on with the food then? Like, if she grabs food, does it grab it from his? You know what? This is a bit confusing. I clearly can't get these guys to talk to each other. Listen, this is not funny anymore. Wait. Oh, greetings. Congratulations. You're back to talk for me. Hopefully the mysterious night woman stopped appearing to you. Listen, this isn't funny anymore. You're telling me you can't see the woman standing on the other side of the fire and she swears that she... Well, clearly he saw me talk to her for like a couple of minutes. And she can't see you. Young man, you're going to scare anyone like that, even this hardened skeptic. We scientific atheists and other superstitious folk. But if you continue telling me how in my proximity you observe some women who deny my existence, I'd be compelled to start fearing for my life and for the condition of your cerebellum. Address the woman. Hey, here's the man I'm talking to right now. The woman gets distracted from her thoughts and looks up at you in surprise. You're pointing once again at the man who's shaking like a leaf. He begins to slowly step back away from you. Without taking her worried eyes off you, the woman begins to retreat as well. Sigh slaps your shoulder. Alright, there's no one else here. Whatever you two say, I mean, whatever you say. Both the man and the young woman on the other side calm down a bit. The man embarrassingly straightens out the flaps on his trench coat and sleeks his bushy beard. Let's just not talk about it. You've clearly convinced yourself in something that simply doesn't exist. Such things happen in this wilderness. It's normal. Fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. Right, I'm gonna find out what's going on. I'm gonna force you guys to talk to each other. I'm sorry, Mr. Deer, but I'm not interested in fighting you right now. I have a bigger thing to do. Unless you know what's going on here. Maybe if I get that potion where I can talk to animals. Oh, that's the cache. Which, hilariously, my scanner, whose only use is scanning things, can't scan. Oh god. I'm just gonna go to that cache first, because I will forget it. Oh, actually I've just lost it, what the hell? There it is, okay. What the fuck is that? There's too much weird shit going on in this parse already. God damn it. You two wait here. They don't look like these two, do they? No. Okay. I wonder whether they can talk to each other. The rabbits are fleeing. Might be worth getting experience from killing them, but there's no real point. I don't really have the... Whoa, I'll try and open the stash. Really? God damn it. That's useful. Yeah, well, let's just focus on what's going on over here for now. Don't want to get too distracted, although this map is pretty big.